My dear brothers and sisters, welcome to our cathedral on this beautiful morning the Lord has given us as we come together to celebrate Holy Mass in honor of St. Joseph. Welcome to the priests who are with us and our deacons, the religious. Dear sisters, welcome. Thank you for being here, to our seminarians and to all who have come together to celebrate Mass on this beautiful day. And our Mass takes place, of course, on this feast day of St. Joseph the Worker, in this year dedicated to St. Joseph. Our Holy Father, Pope Francis, has asked us to observe the year of St. Joseph. It's a beautiful opportunity for us. So first of all, happy feast day to anyone who's named Joseph, or anyone coming from one of our St. Joseph parishes, and happy feast day to the men of St. Joseph who are here, a wonderful group of men in our diocese under the patronage of St. Joseph. And thank you all for being here today, and thanks to all who are assisting with Holy Mass this morning. We know that our Holy Father, Pope Francis, in announcing this year of St. Joseph, wrote a beautiful letter about St. Joseph, Patris Corde, in Latin, with a father's heart. With a father's heart. It's a beautiful little letter. If you haven't read it yet, I encourage you to do so. It's very readable and many great insights about St. Joseph. And in his letter, our Holy Father explains the purpose of his letter, but also the purpose of this special Jubilee year for St. Joseph. Our Holy Father writes, "This year is to increase our love for this great saint, to encourage us to implore his intercession, and to imitate his virtues and his zeal." The threefold purpose of this year in honor of St. Joseph. First of all, to increase our love and our devotion to St. Joseph, which is a very worthwhile and noble cause, because very often as we go through the course of the liturgical year of the Church and in our own devotions and spiritual life, sometimes St. Joseph is sort of put in a corner. We think about him at Christmas time to some degree, and on his great solemnity on March 19th, and today on the feast of St. Joseph the Worker. But sometimes St. Joseph is sort of in the corner of the life of the Church and our own personal spiritual lives. The Pope says this is an opportunity for us to increase our awareness of and our devotion to and our love for St. Joseph. That's a good goal for us during this special year. Secondly, we are encouraged to ask the special intercession of St. Joseph, who, as we know, is the patron saint of many, many different causes. If you look this up somewhere, you'll find a whole list of things that St. Joseph is the patron saint of, including the ones that are well known to us. He's the patron saint of fathers, of course, and of families, of workers, and of carpenters in particular. He's a patron saint of a happy and holy death. I've seen some beautiful depictions in stained glass windows of the moment of death of St. Joseph, accompanied by son Jesus and his spouse, the Blessed Mother. What a beautiful way for all of us to pass from this world in the company of Jesus and Mary. St. Joseph is a patron of a happy and holy death. He's also a patron saint of real estate transactions. You know, some people, when they are trying to sell their house, they will put a statue of St. Joseph in the front yard. It's a beautiful little devotion. Some people don't think it's very appropriate. I don't think it's so bad. It's a way of reminding us of St. Joseph's intercession. There's lots of debate about whether St. Joseph should be facing the house or facing the street, whether he should be right side up or right side down. In any event, he's a patron saint of real estate, and I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily in providing a home for people and helping them in their daily lives. So that's the second thing, is to ask for his intercession. And the third thing is to imitate his virtues and his zeal. To imitate his virtues and his zeal. The question then is, what are the virtues of St. Joseph that we should strive to imitate? Well, to appreciate St. Joseph, really, I think we have to remember the saying that goes that actions speak louder than words. That's certainly true for St. Joseph. We know, it's well documented, that the Bible contains no reference to anything that Joseph ever said in the Bible, not a single word. But we can learn from his example nonetheless by what he did. not so much by what he said, but what he did. So what are the virtues we find in the gospel accounts of St. Joseph? Well, certainly faith. Faith was the guiding principle of his life. Faith that had God right at the center of his life and everything he did. St. Joseph was obedient to God's will, even when it was very difficult for him to understand, perhaps, or to fulfill God's will. He was obedient. He listened carefully to God's will, and that's what obedience is, a careful listening. St. Joseph had humility. He was humble enough to put others first. He put God first. He put our Blessed Mother first in his life. He put Jesus first in his life. That sense of humility that allowed him to step back from his own plans and ambitions, but put others first in his life. That beautiful, holy sense of humility he had. St. Joseph had an enormous amount of courage to make difficult decisions. You know, when he had to take Mary to Bethlehem for the census, or when they had to flee the country to go to Egypt because of the persecution of Herod, or when he went back to Nazareth and began his life again as a carpenter, St. Joseph had a great deal of courage in making these difficult, life-changing decisions. And through it all, St. Joseph had the virtue of trust. Trust that regardless of what happened or what he did, God would always be with him and would always take care of him. The great virtues of St. Joseph: faith, obedience, humility, courage, and trust. They are virtues we all need these days to be faithful to the vocations to which God has called us. They are the virtues we need to be faithful disciples of Jesus. As we strive to be faithful disciples of Jesus and to grow in holiness and virtue, it is St. Joseph who points the way for us. Our late Holy Father, Pope John Paul II, St. John Paul, emphasized this same role of St. Joseph in the beautiful letter about St. Joseph he wrote in 1989 called Redemptoris Custos, the guardian of the Redeemer, a letter of St. John Paul II. In that wonderful letter, St. John Paul said, "The whole Christian people not only will turn to St. Joseph with greater fervor and invoke his patronage with trust, but will also keep before their eyes his humble, mature way of serving and taking part in the plan of salvation." So today, in fulfillment of those words of St. John Paul II, today we turn to St. Joseph with greater fervor and trust. May we increase our love and devotion for him, seek his assistance, intercession in our lives, and strive to imitate his virtues as well. May St. Joseph bless each one of us, our families, our diocese, and the whole Church. And we look forward to that day when someday, God willing, we will be with St. Joseph and Mary and Jesus and all the angels and saints in the kingdom of heaven. Now, as we express our devotion to St. Joseph, we will pray together the Litany of St. Joseph, which you can find in the programs that you have.